Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How's
Good
it?
morning. Well,
Well, my mom used to say, well, subject, 99 of them make a river.
oh wow.
That's my mom. See, now you know where I get it from, right?
Yep.
We'll give it a couple more minutes, see if anybody else wants to join, and then we'll plow forward. Everybody staying healthy, staying in home, keeping your hands washed.
Yes.
Good.
Trying our best to.
Right.
How are your other classes going?
Well, with the other classes, they're going pretty smoothly.
Good.
Most of my lectures are communicating, so it's pretty good.
That's good.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm tired also.
Problems adjusting to online classes. But other than that, fairly well.
Good.
So much work.
Dr. Crane, I have a question.
In a long time.
Okay, what's your question?
There's a little sip birdie on the street. The birdie said that the university intends to push exams back to May. Reason being is that they plan to have it inside the classroom. Is this true or do you know anything about it?
Let me grab my folder real quick.
Gotta get the files for you, man.
What's that?
She gotta get the files for you, man.
I'm gonna get it. I can tell you what I know at this point. Final exams are April 20th to 24th. Like the last exam would be the 24th. The week before that would be for single section courses. I've not heard about it.
Okay.
So if you're listening to Little Birdies, please go online. Regine, I'm trying to unmute you and I can't. There you go. All right, never mind. Everybody's in. Please don't listen to Little Birdies on the street. If you hear something from a little birdie on the street, then please go check on the UB website. Right on their front page, if you scroll down a little bit, they have a spot where they updates on the coronavirus updates.
Okay, thank you.
And what I can tell so far is that when we get updates, they give them to you guys as well. At least that's what it's looking like from my end.
Cool.
And as always, if you have a question about anything, or if you hear something like that, go to somebody that you trust, like an administration or another faculty or something, and find out. Always find the evidence, right?
We like you.
Evidence, I like you too. Get out of bed.
I'm tired.
You too. I can't tell who that is. It doesn't have your name. That's Miyoshi on there?
No.
No, who is that?
Yes, that's Miyoshi.
Oh, that's Regine. Okay.
So Dr. Crane,
Yes.
I have a question. I saw on UB Survival that the nursing campus, they were having like a Zoom meeting for all of their students. to give them updates. Will the School of Education do the same?
I have not heard anything about that. So
Because we need to know what's going on with these TP students. Whatever happening to them will affect us who going on TP next semester.
right.
I need to know.
I agree. And I can tell you, like the last time we talked was on Monday, and I was hoping to hear something to give you some better information today, and so far I've not heard anything. So I remember I told you on Thursday, last Thursday, we met as a faculty, School of Education faculty, and we talked about what to do about the field experience hours, the methods hours and practice, as well as TP. And we gave some recommendations, some options that Dr. Micklewhite was supposed to take to the dean, and then to the academic affairs, and then to Senate. So it's a process, and honestly, I've not heard a word since Thursday.
I'm glad.
So I promise you, I will not withhold any information from you guys. As soon as I hear, I will let you know. I've also heard from a couple people who have heard from their cooperating teachers. People who've heard from their cooperating teachers in terms of hours and practice teaching, and the cooperating teachers have asked a couple people to join them in teaching online. So I think that's a great experience. It's going to be a learning.
Yes, that's very nice.
Yeah, and for me, I would definitely accept that as hours.
Me too.
Yeah, no, you
What would you accept as ours?
I would accept that for hours. But
What?
if your cooperating teacher invites you to join them on teaching online and helping them with their class, I would accept that as hours for the field experience hours that you guys have to get. I don't know how the methods teachers are going to handle that. If it were me, I'd say, yeah, go for it, because that's the way our world is going, to more of a remote kind of practice. But I don't get to make that decision. That's above my pay grade.
That's funny.
So
That's funny.
we'll get there. This is a tough thing for everybody involved, from the students to the children in the schools, the classroom teachers, to your faculty. There's plenty of faculty who are not very good at, I'm sure you guys are aware of this already, who are not very
Yes.
good at technology. And I don't claim to be any kind of tech savvy teacher. I mean, I'm somewhat competent, but definitely not savvy. So we're all learning together.
Because that was a shady email that was sent yesterday.
Wait, what was sent yesterday?
An email saying that a lot of faculty doesn't want to teach from home, or they don't want to work from home, or they want to be paid more to work from home. I was like, gee, okay.
No, I see. Is that the message from President Smith at the university?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that too. And that, honestly, that breaks my heart.
I was like, wow.
Because to me, that seems like people are being selfish about this instead of trying to
They
jump
are.
the team and make this work for everybody. They're being selfish about it. So,
Mhm.
you know, that's all I'm going to say on that.
Fox.
So another update from Dr. Minnis, Prime Minister, today at 4, I believe. So I hope you guys are paying attention to the news and that sort of.
We can't, because I have Dr. Butler every time there is a news broadcast, and she don't like lasso.
That what? Every time there's a news broadcast, what?
I have Dr. Butler class.
Oh, dang. Well, good morning. That's
Morning.
I have a class during that time as well, but I'm going to be tuning in.
Well, Zoom it, or they'll also have updates on the Ministry of Health website. And usually ZNS or what is it, Eyewitness News usually posts an update as well. Ooh. And when we get off here, you guys need to go spend some time in the sunshine, because it's supposed to start raining this afternoon. So get your sunshine in, that helps. Vitamin D. and here's my little birdie on the street. I heard that the sunshine helps kill the coronavirus. I don't know if that's true or not, but
No,
I'm going to take that one as a truth because
Dr. Forbes said no. It
Dr.
doesn't matter the type of weather.
Well, sunshine is a healer for a lot of things. So even if you're getting sad or depressed or whatever, sunshine can help with that. Sometimes it's hard to force yourself out of the house, but you know, once you do and you get out there and you know, the whole smile, fake it till you make it thing, be a star, smile, take a deep breath and relax and go out in the sunshine. So that's what I can tell you about that.
Did you go back to the beach?
Let me think. I went on no, I've not been out of my house since Monday.
Powerful.
So I'm a little bit afraid now. I don't want to end up in jail.
I tell you, I got you, man. I ask Bailey work.
I know you guys would come bail me. I appreciate that. I truly do. I just don't want to be there. I'm a
True.
follower, you guys. That's my thing. I break the rules to a certain extent, but mostly I follow the rules. So we have, I'm really lucky. I got to show you guys where I stay. You guys can see my video? Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll show you my house, but outside my house, here's my, I don't know if you can tell, here's my yard. Can you see that very much?
Oh,
You could throw a party.
Literally,
let's have a body.
Oh,
They ain't gotta
Dr.
know.
Brennan, we having a barbecue.
here's my rocking chair. I can't see because there's a glare on my screen, but I have a rocking chair that I sit on my front porch. I have this whole front porch here that goes back a long ways, and this
House tour.
I wish this for everybody because being outside and getting fresh air and sunshine and the breeze helps a ton.
I wish this for everybody.
They use fine places like that.
That is
They
good
don't even
too.
put them inside the newspaper.
Yeah, that would be nice. So, okay, you guys,
There's for them that age. We just can't afford them.
nobody can afford to live here, so I think that all the time. I don't know how. Okay, you guys ready to talk about the annotated lesson plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me make sure I'm doing this properly. What I'm going to do is you guys already have this information. I'm just going to pull up the PowerPoint. Let me show. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try to share my screen, but I don't know how to do this. Share screen. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, girl, yeah.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so there's the PowerPoint. You guys already have this. The PowerPoint I think is called Mitchell's it's a learning and teaching model. So I sped ahead a little bit to slide number 4. And when you guys go to do your lesson plans, these are the 4 things when we talk about recognizing exceptional learners. Remember that section on the lesson plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you're filling in that section on recognizing exceptional learners, these are the 4 things that you need to pay attention to when you're recognizing those exceptional learners. The biological structures, the motivational states, cognitive strategies, and memory. Those 4 things. Okay, ring a bell?
Mm-mm.
It better ring a bell. Make it ring
Yes,
a bell.
it does.
All right. Those are the 4 things. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that when you're, for here, while you're pre-teaching practice, you really need to dive in deep to these 4 areas. And it's not that we want a big dissertation on any particular area. We don't want scientific facts per se, but what you need to do as a pre-service teacher is just to start thinking about how these 4 areas affect the learning process for your students. Okay, how do these 4 areas affect the learning process of your students? Okay, so let's dive in a little bit to the biological structures and functions. Oh. There we go. When we talk about, and you can get a lot more detailed information from the Mitchell book. This is his chapter 2. Remember with that big funky looking diagram that was so confusing?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of that diagram. If that bothers you, flip past that page and go right down to reading about what is he talking about, the biological structures and functions. So basically, you have a learner who's struggling in your class, and the first thing you want to do is say, is this child even able to attend to information? How long can they attend to information? Too easy? How are they perceiving the information? If I tell them something, do they perceive it as something that's totally different? And how are they understanding? So what I see sometimes is on this section of the lesson plan, I see previously a lot of students who write things like the student wears glasses for biological structures and functions. And that's not necessarily what we're talking about. You can use that. The student wears glasses and still that, I mean, I wear glasses. As long as I have my glasses on, I'm fine. That's not a factor for me. And so for most students, if they're wearing glasses, those glasses help correct their vision so that now they can see fine. It's when they look at those glasses, or if they wear glasses, if they have a visual impairment to the degree that they wear those glasses and they still can't see, now that's a problem that you as a teacher need to take into consideration. Okay, so mostly for this part, the biological structures and functions, you need to look at, is this student able to attend to the lesson? Are they able to perceive what I'm saying properly? And do they understand it properly? Okay. You could talk about biological structures and functions in terms of physical disabilities. That's okay too. The main goal for this whole section of the lesson plan is to make sure that you, the teacher, are paying attention to things that might get in the way of that child's learning. Okay, any questions on that?
No.
Okay, I'm going to take silence. Thank you. I'm going to take your silence as you're with me so far. Okay, let's go to the next section then. The motivational states and personal dispositions. And this is the part where we're looking at emotionally, is that child able to sit? I mean, think of yourself right now. This is a perfect example. How many of us, me included, are able to emotionally attend to what we're talking about right now? When you have things going on in your life, when maybe your goal is just to get an A in the class, your goal isn't to learn how to be the best teacher. Okay, if your goal is to learn how to be the best teacher, it's going to be easier for you to pay attention to this and try to do a better job. Hopefully that makes some sense. In this section, we can talk about things like this child has frequent fights with his mom on the way into school. He's bullied by his peers. The part about belief in personal capacity to do with, do they think they can do it? Do they believe that they can learn this fractions multiplication project? Okay. What is their belief in their own capability? The part about trust and environment has to do with, does this child trust you? I mean, think of yourself right now, even when, you know, and I'm glad to hear that most of you feel like your professors, the faculty are meeting your needs in this area. But I see on UB Survival Guide, and I see emails and I hear things about students saying, we haven't even heard from them. They don't answer our emails. If I ask a question, they tell us to sit down. That's kind of, that belief in that trust in the environment has to do with, does that child trust that if they make a mistake, they're not going to get condemned for it? If they make a mistake, do we as teachers help them learn from that mistake? That's them trusting in the environment. Okay. Everybody on the same page?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Concept of themselves, especially for kids. And the used earlier in the semester was, you know, I feel like I have a hard time, not so much anymore. When I was in college, I had a hard time with statistics because I had a horrible teacher. And so when I went forward in my education, every time statistics came up, I was like, oh God, I can't do this. My concept of myself was created by my history. Okay. If I have a teacher who tells me, oh, you're a horrible writer, then the next time, years ahead, if I have a writing assignment, I'm going to have my concept of myself is like, oh, I'm a horrible writer. I can't do this very well. Okay. So those are the kinds of things that we need to look at or try. You're kind of like a sleuth at this point. You're trying to decide, you're trying to discover what it is about this student that's making them have problems with learning. Okay. Still on the same page?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So within this section, the motivational states, we talked about the task-focused versus ability-focused goals. Okay, this is, you need to know this. This is the most important thing for us to do, to instill in our students, is get them to be task-focused instead of ability-focused. Students who are ability-focused, they look at, oh, I don't have good ability in math. I really am horrible at math. So therefore, I can't do this lesson. Okay. But students who are task-focused think, oh, this is a challenge. This is a hard task to do. It doesn't have anything to do with my ability. It has to do with how can I get over learning this task. So our goal as teachers is to help students get to be task-focused as opposed to ability-focused. We don't want kids thinking, that I can't do this. I don't know how. I'm stupid. I'm whatever negative concept they have of themselves. We want students to think, oh, this is going to be a hard thing to learn, but we can do this together. And they have trust in their environment when the teacher says, okay, let's learn how to do this together. I can scaffold, I can chunk for you. I can hook you up with somebody who knows how to do this. I can help you learn from what you already know and then take baby steps forward. Okay, so which is the best way to be, ability focused or task focused? Y'all went to the bathroom, didn't you?
No, I already am. Focus.
No, sorry, you could repeat it for me, please. I had to work, so I try to listen.
Task focus.
Exactly, it's best to be task focused.
I had to work too.
When you have a child in your class, or even for you, when you're feeling like, oh, I just can't do this, you need to get your mindset turned around to be task focused. This is what we need to do. This is our objective for this lesson, and this is how I'm going to accomplish that task. And that's what we need to instill in our students. So for the emotional, the motivational and emotional section of the child, we're looking at trying to get them task focused as opposed to ability focused. Sorry, my tongue's getting slow. All right. Anybody have an example of this that they want to share? Otherwise,
Let me think of one and then I'll come back.
Okay.
I can let you know.
Ding dong, Avon calling. Okay. This looks like task focus. Has to do with motivational states and personal dispositions. Okay, getting the child emotionally ready to learn and understanding what their emotional state is when they come to our lesson. Okay, so now we're going to move on to motivational reasons for poor attention. And these are common things. You could use these in terms of writing into your lesson plan. The child's just not ambitious to be able to learn. The child has fear of failure. He won't come to the desk, so to speak, won't come to the lesson because he has fear of failing. I need to get this child curious about this. Or what does their behavior look like? Do they have the proper behavior to sit and learn? Irresponsible attitudes. These are the most common reasons for for poor school achievement. Okay, and if you go back to the Mitchell book, there's plenty of evidence in terms of research articles that talk to each one of these. Okay, you don't need to be an expert in this for this section. You just need to make a good educated guess. You need to know enough. You ever hear the phrase that you know enough to be dangerous? That's kind of where you guys need to be. You need to know enough to be dangerous about this kind of stuff, to say, ha, there's something going on with this kid. I may not necessarily know exactly what it is, but I know there's something in this child that he's afraid to fail. So either I do a couple things. Remember the RTI process. I need to try a couple interventions to make him not afraid, to make failure be a challenge, not a condemnation. And if I can't do that with my couple ways that I try, the next step I do is go find somebody who does know that. Okay? Where you would
Dr.
go.
Kreiner,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
to disturb you, but we have a lot of lectures in that program.
Okay, go again. I can't hear you.
I said we have a lot of lecturers who also need to know that process, that make it something that if we don't understand, you try as best as you can, give us options, take us through the process of making us understand versus you get it, or majority of the class get it, and then you move on. Or
Right.
you'd be like, well, y'all college students, y'all should be able to figure it out. You could go and research it, and then come back to me and tell me what you find. Like, that ain't really teaching.
I do not disagree with you at all. I think there are some professors who do a fabulous job, and I think there are others who don't. And so part of our goal, Ms. Wright and I, especially Dr. Farquharson, there's several of us who really want to teach this to the whole faculty. In fact, in the last fall, at the beginning of the semester, I gave a presentation to all the faculty before we started school, trying to explain this very thing. And some are game to understand it or try to understand it, and some are just like, no, like you just said, I think it was Camry who was just talking. Like you just said, some faculty are like, no, they're college students, they should know how to do this. And that's not necessarily true, because what we need to understand, what us college professor people need to understand, is that most of this is novel information for you guys. You're learning something new. For us, I've been doing this for 35 years. I better know something about this, but I'm not a 20-year-old college student. As a 20-year-old college student, this was all new to me. And so I need to take that kind of mindset to my students to say, this is all new to you guys. Let me help you figure out how this works. Let me help you figure out how to understand this. But you're right. We have a ways to go. We're not perfect either. And so if you have a professor who does not do this, like maybe scaffold the information or help chunk it in ways that you can understand it, help take it back to your previous knowledge so it makes sense to you. If you don't have a professor to do that, then we need you, and this gets into one of our next sections, the metacognition piece. This relies on you to be able to do that for yourself. And as a 20-year-old, I would hope that you would have some of that, but not all of it. You know what? I'm 58 years old. I'm still working on that stuff myself. So it's all a progress. I hope that makes some kind of sense. I want you, remember we talked about academic self-regulation? Usually we talk about self-regulation in terms of social, emotional, behavioral kinds of skills. But when we talk about academic self-regulation, it's you being able to, it's me being able to, each one of us individually being able to understand, what am I good at? What am I not good at? What are my challenges? What's getting in the way of me learning? And then me taking my education by the horns and fighting those challenges myself. Easier said than done, I know. So I have another theory on this if you guys want to be entertained for a moment. I think one of the failures of education, and this is a global thing, one of the failures of education is that we raise kids to be a very rote kind of learner. You know what I mean by rote learners?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we
And I
train.
hate it.
I hate it too. We don't.
And that's why we have a comprehension problem in the schools right now, because all our children know is not basically nothing.
Exactly. And so take it the next step. We have that comprehension problem, that critical thinking problem in our school. Children grow up to be adults with critical thinking problems and comprehension problems. And so those adults grow up to be professors with critical thinking problems and comprehension problems. And they might comprehend their specific discipline because they've spent years studying it. But what they don't comprehend is the learning process for new people coming into the field. And that comes back to bite you guys in the butt, because now you don't have a professor who understands the learning process, and they don't do a good job necessarily on helping you overcome those challenges. It's not a fix it kind of answer, but it's just kind of explaining what the problem is. And sometimes when you know what the problem is, you can start to take my tongue's getting.
Take your time.
I'm sorry, more coffee. When you know what the problem is, or at least have a good idea of what the problem is, now you can start to take steps. There we go. Now you can start to take steps to correct that problem. And that's what this whole process is about, with deciding what the learner factors are.
Dr. Kran, I have a question. How do you feel about lecturers who, like, when you give them back their information verbatim? Because I feel that's not really testing my understanding, but testing my memory skills.
I agree. When all we do is test, all we do in testing is do the multiple choice tests, for example. And if you've taken the evaluation assessment course, I think that's 418 maybe.
Yes, I've taken that already.
Okay, hopefully what you're learning in that class, what I've taught in that class at Kent State before, is different levels okay, I'm not gonna make a confession, but that'll be for a later date.
Dr. Kran, you aren't learning anything in that class.
Well, what you're supposed to learn in that class, what I hope you're learning in that class, is that there's different ways to test information. And even a choice test, even though it looks like it's rote memory, it doesn't necessarily have to be. So ways to design multiple choice tests and even true false tests, so they can push up that ladder, that Bloom's taxonomy, to higher level of thinking.
Well, when I took the class, we had a lecturer, so we actually learned. So we learned about all those stuff, but I know for this semester they're having challenges with that.
Right.
Yes, you need to show off. We're getting to you again.
And quite honestly, I mean, that's a whole field in itself. So people who teach that class, who are experts in assessment and evaluation, they know that stuff really, really well. I'm not an expert in that area. I know enough to be dangerous. That doesn't mean I'm really good at it, but it means that I know enough to know that I'm not really good at it, and I'm trying to do better each time. So even for your test that you're going to take for this class, sorry to go there, there's going to be some rote memorization. There's going to be some higher level thinking sorts of questions. It's a fair test, though. I truly feel, that it's a pretty fair test that you're going to take for this particular class. So sorry, we got a little bit off topic, but that's okay. Okay, where are we going? I kind of lost my train of thought for a minute. Oh, so what I need for you guys to do is understand that there's these 4 learner factors that usually are a cause for why a student is not performing well in your class, or on your lesson, or on your assessments. And when we start to be able to look at what these 4 factors are and how it looks in each particular child who's having a problem, let's clarify that. I have a child who's having a problem. I apply these 4 learner factors. I try to figure out what is it that's making this child have a problem. And even though I may not know the exact answer, I go beyond that rote understanding of children, and I go into a deeper, comprehensive thinking of that child, so I can try to fix that problem for them or help teach them about that problem so that they can start to fix it for themselves. Is that too much words? That makes sense? So
Bring
what,
it back again, please.
Yes,
what-
it does.
I don't know if I can say it again. I can try. I think this is recording, so hopefully if I have figured this out, I can send it out and we can listen to it again. Hopefully what we're doing on this section of the lesson plan where you're recognizing learner factors, you're taking children who are having a hard time learning or a hard time with your particular lesson, evaluating that hard time based on these 4 learner factors. And then we can start to try to understand, why is this child having a hard time? It's not just because they're a bad kid. It's not just because they're stupid. It's because it's one of these 4 factors that's getting in the way of their learning. And when we can figure out that, or at least think about it and be concerned about it and work on it, then we can do a better job of teaching. It doesn't mean we're going to fix everything. It just means that we're going to do a better job. Another way to look at this, I think, is, when this all goes back to, I think it was Camry who said, when, this is how we teach, or maybe it was Kashan, I can't remember who said this, sorry guys. That's how we raise our kids in the schools, to just be rote learners. When we try to start getting out of that rote process of learning, and we start to be deeper thinkers and oh, why can't I think of the word? Critical thinkers, problem solvers. It doesn't mean that's going to be a quick fix, black or white. Rote learning is black and white. When we're not doing that rote learning, it's more, lots of gray areas, which sometimes is frustrating, but on board with it.
And then students tend to complain, oh, this is too hard. But when you actually tell them the answer, they be like, oh, that's what you meant.
See, and when kids say, oh, this is too hard, my response is, you're right, this is hard. And aren't you going to be fabulous when you figure it out? You're going to feel so good about yourself, because some of the stuff is hard. Some of the stuff in schools, when kids are starting to learn decimal points and stuff, it's hard because they've never heard of what a decimal point is. They're novel learners at that point. So when we give them a new word, when we say to students, like, oh, look at your previous learning, and how do we pull that along step by step, pull it along, because this is a journey. It's not just yes or no, we know or we don't. It's a journey to knowing more information. And so when we help kids along the way, give them a backpack, give them some water, carry them for a minute, whatever it needs to do, whatever you need to do as a teacher to pull them along the way, that's when we're going to get kids to go farther along that path of learning. Okay, let's move on, because I'm afraid we're going to run out of time. Ready to move?
Okay.
Okay, metacognition, that's the next section, the cognitive part of the four factors, the metacognition. Remember, metacognition is learning how to learn, understanding how my brain works, understanding that, oh, I knew this before and I pushed this a little bit farther and that I can chunk these pieces of memory together. I'm going to leave that with you guys, because I think we've talked about that a lot in class, right? That's where we start talking about mnemonics and using song to learn stuff, or memory, or chanting, or choral speech, and those kinds of things. But also, I feel like, this is my personal thing, I feel like it's really important for kids to understand that the muscle that they're working on, I know it's not a muscle, but the muscle that they're working on is their brain. And when they start to understand pieces of their brain, when you can say, oh, your brain thought this way, I need your brain to think that way instead. And that's when we take kids who make a mistake in learning, instead of just saying, no, you're wrong. You say, as a teacher, you say, oh, I see how you thought that, because yesterday we learned this. But when we add this section of it, it has a different meaning. Okay, teaching kids how to think and teaching kids how to understand how they go about thinking. Oh, there's a different memory pieces. Okay, so what you need to do when you're using these four factors to describe your learner who's having a problem, what you need to look at are things like frequency, intensity, and duration. Do they just have a problem with this one lesson? Is it always in this subject area? Is it a severe, the intensity piece, is it a severe problem, or is it just kind of a little bit that we can kind of just nudge them along the way? And the duration is, how long does it last? Is it always? Is it week after week, year after year? He had this problem in second grade, now he's doing the same thing in third grade, okay? Those are the kinds of things that you need to look at. And then here's another important piece is, once you figure out, this will be our next lesson next week. Once you figure out the 4 learner factors, or at least have an idea, you don't have to be 100% right. Get your mind out of that rote learning, that it's either right or wrong. What I want to see from you guys is that you're at least giving it a good old college try to think about, why is this kid having a problem? Okay. And then what we're going to work on next week is this notion of, once I kind of have an idea why this child's having a problem, what am I going to do about it? And that what am I going to do about it piece is the try another way. And then I might modify the content, the process, or the product. Okay. So next week, we'll talk about the try another way, content, process, product. But right now, what I want you to look at are the 4 learner factors in terms of frequency, intensity, and duration. I'll put a post on Edmodo with a little bit more description, and I want you to try the piece about recognizing the exceptional learner. I haven't. Well, I'm just gonna leave it there. I will put an assignment for you. It won't be due until like next week or so. I don't want you to kill yourself over this, because I know this whole sequestered thing is kind of daunting for people. But I do want you to start thinking about, you probably already are thinking about students who are having problems in your classes, okay? And if you're not, you need to. This is where in your educational life, you need to move from, remember we talked about teaching right here, and you need to move out. You're already good at developing the lesson plans and implementing the lesson plans. What you need to look at next is, how are those students receiving the lesson plans? And when students are having difficulty, you need to look at the 4 learner factors. Okay, what questions do you have about that? Everybody either fell asleep, or I did such a fabulous job that there's no questions.
No questions. You did a fabulous job.
Oh God, oh God. Okay, I'm gonna unshare. Can I unshare this now? How do I do this? Nope. How do I unshare? I don't know.
Look to the top of your screen. You should see the button that says unshare.
Oh, stop share. Yep, you're right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, what questions do you have about this? Rashad, I just saw your message about fixed mindset and growth mindset. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's part of that emotional piece, right? Okay, well, if nobody has any questions, then we will sign off for now, because we're going to get cut off here in a minute.
Excuse me, Dr. Kreiner.
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you in the WhatsApp group, can you send me the page for the book for the test that's coming up on the 4th?
Wait, what?
Which pages are which pages is it in the book? That's what I want to know. The textbook, the Mitchell's book.
For what we just talked about today?
No, ma'am. What's coming up for the test? Collaborating with families, professionals, and parents.
It's in the comments.
Okay. Yep, I will do that. Actually, I think on the post, when I posted the quiz, it should have the pages there for the 2008 edition as well as the 2014 edition. If it's not, I'll double check it, and if it's not, I'll make sure that I put it there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, go get some sunshine.
For sure.
Okay.
All righty. And I will post a small assignment, and I don't expect pages and pages and pages for this assignment. This is going to be the first part of your annotated lesson plan. And it's just basically going to be pick a student who's having a problem in one of your classes and see that just do the best you can. What I'm looking for is not a specific right or wrong kind of answer. I'm looking for your critical thinking. Okay, I'll post all that in Edmodo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sun is your friend. Water is your friend. Isolation is your friend. It's time limited though, guys. We can do this.
Okay.
Whenever you're starting to feel bad, think about Anne Frank. I know that's probably not helpful. All right.
Think about everybody
What
who's
other questions you have?
spending-
Okay. Ciao.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.